In this episode, I paint some track, spread some ballast, and things don't quite go to plan. Come and see how I got track painted and ballasted on my shelf layout build. Hello, and welcome to Rob's Rails, and episode 3 of my shelf layout build. In this one, now that the track is done and firmly in place, it's time to get painting and ballasting the track. As a beginner to this, I was really keen to try out a few different techniques to start to bring the scene to life, and as you'll see, some lessons were definitely learned. All in all though, it was a great learning curve, and this build is all about gaining new skills and practicing techniques. I'll put a link to any products I've used in the description below, and with that, it's time to get to it. I started by using some rail match sleeper grime to coat the sleepers on all of the track. My aim here was to try and bring a more uniform look to the track before adding extra layers of detail. This is mostly because, although all the track is set track, the sidings and head shunt are all Pico, while the points are Hornby, meaning there was a big difference in the colour of the plastic sleepers. All of the track here is second hand that I've picked up from various model shows over the last year. The points cost me a total of £5 for the pair, so it's always worth having a look for some in good condition. Using some Humbrol 110 natural wood, I gave the buffer stop a paint before picking out a few sleepers at random to add a lighter tone. As well as varying the colours, this gives a suggestion of some more faded, older wood. I made sure to do this a bit more on the sleepers at the ends of the sidings, as these would be more likely to be left in place for longer. I also carefully picked out a few sleepers on the points, steering clear of the mechanism as much as possible. The head shunt also got a bit of the lighter wood treatment. I wasn't too worried about completely coating every sleeper I paint with this colour, as any spots where the sleeper grime colour is visible underneath just adds that little bit more variation. Whilst the paint was drying, I took the opportunity to stick down a sheet of cardboard in between the two tubes. This is to change the ground level a little, as well as trying to blend the tubing so that they're not obvious once all the scenics are down. Using a cheap, burnt umber acrylic paint, I painted a base coat around the track sides so that if any ballast or scenery chips off in future, it won't be shiny grey plastic visible underneath. I did the same along the front of the layout where I had placed the cardboard, but left a section at the front on the left-hand end unpainted, as I plan to raise the ground level here too so that the bridge can go across this end of the layout. Once all this was dry, using some of my wagons as a guide, I dry brushed some black acrylic into the centre of the sleepers where I would assume the loco would be stood for some time during shunting. I continued this around the layout, using either 1, 2 or 3 wagons at a time as markers until I had gone down each of my 3 sidings. I then took a bit of white acrylic and lightly coated and dry brushed a few sleepers here and there, just to highlight some of the details and vary the tones even further. Now that I was happy with how the sleepers were looking, I used an AK Interactive Real Colour marker in chipping colour to paint the sides of the rails so they were no longer giving a shiny metal vibe. This is a technique I'd seen used by Mike Wild of Hornby magazine on his Topbydale layout, and as you'll see, I'd recommend making use of it, as it's such a quick and easy way to make a real difference to your trackwork. So easy in fact that I even went to the trouble of using it on the rear side of each rail too, even though there's next to no chance it would be visible once the shelf is up on the wall. But I'll know there's no shiny rails hiding back there. I also made use of the marker to paint the remaining surfaces of the buffer stop to suggest these sections were made from old rail and dull down the shiny black plastic finish. Once all of this was dry, I gave the track a once over with a black wash, just to really highlight all the details and bring another level of grime to the sidings. I also washed a section of the ballast I'd already put down using sticky tape, just to see what shade this came out as afterwards, as the grey it currently is seems a bit too clean and fresh for this scene. Not content with how uniform the rails looked, and after a chance outing to a local shop revealed they stocked Humbrol weathering powders, I made use of some light rust and dark earth to vary the colour along the viewing side of the rails, focusing the rust colour more towards the ends of each siding. The light rust looks a little dramatic at first, especially on camera, but it does settle down once everything is blended together. I also gave the buffer stops a smattering of rust too, as these wouldn't have gotten away with being left out in the open for years on end either. Next, it was time for ballasting. I started by sprinkling a generous amount over a small section of track, before using a soft makeup brush, on loan from the other half, to spread the ballast evenly along the track and using the opposite end to lightly tap the rails in an attempt to shake the ballast off the sleepers. I also went over the section around the points that I'd ballasted previously, just to raise the level to match the rest of the track. Once I was happy with how the ballast had spread, I used some universal rail yard by True to Scale model aggregates to really add a layer of grime to the ends of each siding. I also sprinkled a smaller amount around the sleepers I had added some black paint to earlier. Next up, I turned my attention to fixing everything down with a 50-50 mix of PVA glue and water, with a drop of washing up liquid thrown in to help break down the surface tension and allow the glue to soak into the ballast. And this is where things went a little sideways. In my haste to get on with things, I'd initially missed to wet the ballast first with a mister, and I also don't think the syringe I was using was best suited to the task, so the ballast began clumping together. At this point, I turned the camera off and tried to rescue the situation. In the end, it didn't turn out quite as badly as I feared, and once I'd chipped away any ballast stuck to the rails, it was nothing a bit of a touch up here and there, and a quick repaint of some rails with a paint marker couldn't fit. Well, for a time there, I honestly thought I was going to have to rip everything up and start again, but ultimately, I'm happy with the way it's eventually turned out. Plenty of lessons were learned, and I'm determined to have a better crack at fixing down the scenery than I did that ballast. Next time, I make a start on the scenery and build my yard hut. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see how the rest of this layout build turns out, and let me know your thoughts on painting and ballasting track in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one on Rob's Rails.